know, but I actually thought about that.
I now call this Bryan Independent School District meeting to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 6:02. Our board president, Dr. Harlan, and our board vice president, Felicia Benford, could not make the meeting tonight, so you have the third string quarterback. So if there may be a couple of fumbles, that's another little, play on words there. Everybody's laughing their heads off it. Well, Leo is. Thank you for laughing.
It's entertaining, if nothing else. It'll keep you on your feet.
I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. I ask that you please turn off the sound on all electronic devices and stand for the pledges. We have, for the American flag, Ross Elementary. I believe we have Assistant Principal Aubrey Rives. Is that correct? Is that who we have?
Here she comes, yes. They're introducing themselves.
Have them introduce themselves.
Line up. Line up right here.
I guess we'll do the pledge first and then we'll have them.
Line up. Face the audience.
My name's Aiden, 4th grade, Soros Elementary.
Sadie Oosterling, 3rd grade, Ross Elementary.
Audrey Guerrero, 3rd grade, Ross Elementary.
Aurelia Gonzalez, 3rd grade, Ross Elementary.
Ezra Neubauer, 3rd grade, Ross Elementary.
My name is Rayleigh Svatsek, 4th grade, Ross Elementary.
James McCann, 4th grade, Ross Elementary.
And I'm Aubrey Rives, assistant principal at Ross Elementary. And
Kathy Hall, I'm the student ambassador sponsor and reading interventionist at Ross Elementary. And they are ready to lead you in the pledge.
Y'all can face the flag over this way.
Please put your right hand over your heart.
Face the flag.
Face the flag.
Ready, begin.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, now we will have the Pledge of the Texas flag by Neal Elementary, and I believe Juanita Ontiveros. Am I getting that close enough? Mm-hmm.
My name is Keyshawn Baxter, 3rd grade student ambassador for Neal Elementary.
My name is Liliana Contreras, and I'm a 3rd grade student ambassador at Neal Elementary.
My name is Sebastian Torres, and I'm a 3rd grade student ambassador at Neal Elementary.
Great.
Please join us for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Good job.
This is always a treat for us. I know there are parents and grandparents out there. We thank you for bringing them to the meeting tonight and sharing them with us, because we really enjoy that. Thank you very much. Okay, next we're going to go to our spotlight and honor some teachers, starting with Elementary Teachers of the Month. Our first teacher is Anita Pittman, Ross Elementary, who will be introduced by, again, Assistant Principal Aubrey Rives.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here with Anita and with all of y'all. So Anita is a third grade ELAR teacher who has been and continues to be a bright light and cornerstone of Ross Elementary School. When I came to Ross Elementary, the year the new building opened, Anita Pittman was the first person I met. It didn't take me long to realize that she was dependable, caring, student and family centered, and a calming, and I mean calming, presence on the campus. Over nearly 30 years of service to Bryan ISD and Ross, Anita has worn many hats. She's served as a paraprofessional, a behavior management specialist, a self-contained teacher, a third grade ELAR teacher, lead teacher, and mentor coordinator, to name just a few. She's one of only a handful of staff members still at Ross that experienced the old Ross and the new Ross, a neighborhood community that was aging out, resulting in a drastic change in our student population and countless new team members. In fact, in the 8 years since we moved to the new building, Anita is sometimes the Lone Ranger, always finding herself with at least one new team member and oftentimes an entirely new team, and still she stays. Through it all, Anita Pittman has risen to every change and challenge with tenacity and an undying belief in what Ross students can do and be. Anita's a rock star teacher who builds solid relationships with everyone. She has very high expectations and a kind and calm demeanor, which she manages to balance those two qualities with great skill as she leads her positive child-centered classroom. She shares the responsibility of managing that classroom with her students, and they want to do well and follow her lead with little to no pushback because she shares her own humanity with them. She'll be the first to tell you that contrary to what some of us believe, she doesn't do everything right. And she's the first to be vulnerable with her students by showing them how she navigates mistakes, apologizes when she's been unfair, because she's a lifelong learner herself. They trust her to facilitate their learning. The students know how much she loves them, and they would literally move mountains for her. From my first days at Ross to now, I'm amazed at how much she's grown in her teaching practice. She's always reflective, asks lots of questions, listens to understand, which is a dying art, has a growth mindset, and models what she expects from her kids. It's not uncommon to see her at students' birthday parties or sporting events. She makes these events a priority, and because she does, her students know she really does care about them as a whole child. It is common for her former students to seek her out and check in with her as they move through their life journey. They think of her as an important influence in their lives, and she continues to do so. She's a leader on the campus even when she may not want to be leading, even when she's tired, even when it's too early or too late to be working. She's there to help us all. She loves Ross students and has chosen Ross as her home away from home. She manages to make a huge difference in the life of the students, families, and coworkers. Her impact will forever be felt as she has touched many, many lives throughout her career. And I could go on and on with personal stories about how Anita has made my life as a raccoon a positive experience, but we could be here all night. Please join me in congratulating Anita Pittman as the Teacher of the Month for November.
Ms. Pittman, we will, I think we have somebody from Truist. Very good, very good. Yeah, we want to thank Truist for providing gift cards for our winners.
This is much worse. Oh.
Thank you. Our next teacher is Carrie Lundbeck Perry from Neal Elementary, and she will be introduced by Principal Juanita Ontiveros.
Okay, good evening. So, if they cannot learn the way we teach the way they learn. Our dedicated resource teacher, Carrie Lundbeck Perry, believes this, and it is evident in her daily instruction. Ms. Perry has set high expectations for a student and provides them the support they need to meet those expectations. She does whatever it takes to ensure our students demonstrate growth, whether it be attending extra Saturday professional development to learn about new strategies or buying her students favorite treats for extra motivation. Her commitment extends far beyond the classroom. For the last 3 years, she has served as a mentor for first-year resource teachers. I can confidently say that Mrs. Perry's leadership impacted their success. She attends every school event and offers a helping hand anytime she can. To say that she demonstrates good work ethic is an understatement. This year, Ms. Perry has truly exemplified optimism. For the first 6 weeks, she juggled the caseload of 2 teachers without one complaint when I moved her partner to a position I needed to fill. Then 1 week into the school year, I moved one of her instructional assistants to a high needs vacancy and placed a new IA in her class. Then in the first week of the second 6 weeks, I moved a teacher who had never taught resource to her class, causing her to redo the schedule that took us forever to perfect. Her response every time I came to her with these big changes, every time I'd go in there, I was like, oh, I don't want to see Miss Barry. She's going to kill me. Her response was the same. She said, whatever is best for students is what has to be done. And I know that she truly believes this. Through each situation, Ms. Perry focused on the positive instead of dwelling on the negative, and I am so grateful for her attitude and support during all of this craziness. Ms. Perry clearly lives our district vision of children first always. So students of Neal Elementary are blessed to have such a dedicated, loving teacher who believes that every child can succeed. So I am proud to say that Mrs. Carrie Lundbeck Perry is November Teacher of the Month.
And our next teacher is from Bryan Collegiate High School, and I will, I've got about a 50-50 chance of pronouncing this correctly, so I'm just going to let Assistant Principal Dana, and I may get hers wrong too, Bishak? Bishak, okay. Y'all give me some tough names here. Introduce our teacher of the month.
All right. Bryan Collegiate proudly presents Caitlin Labus.
Thank
Caitlin Labus first came to us as a student teacher in the fall of 2018. She student taught geometry. That very following spring, she personally was my long-term sub when I was out on maternity leave and continued maternity leave for another teacher. She tended to the garden when I was out and kept that growing, and this year has picked that up as her club again after many years. She currently teaches geometry and AP Pre-Cal, which is a first for her and on our campus and a very new course for us. She officially began her teaching career in the fall of 2019 and has been a beloved staff member and teacher ever since. Students say that she is kind and polite and patient with all of them. She saw that children, she knows when kids are having a bad day and gives them the support that they need to overcome. When the class is quiet, she knows how to lighten the mood. And she is always patient and she's understanding. She never gives up on us. She's always happy and brings joy to our family. Her colleagues say that she is a tenacious leader for her team, and she steps up for the entire school. Her other colleague says that she was instrumental in helping me when I returned from maternity leave and even when I was out. I would say that she is an important staff member because she's always willing to go the extra mile. She has instituted our Pause Off, which is an anti-nicotine and vaping mission that we have. And she and another colleague worked on that and have a new organization on our club to fight that issue in our community. So we present Caitlin Lovis.
Okay, our auxiliary department, custodial services. The employee is Erica Chavez Rios, and campus is Jones Elementary, and the introduction will be by custodial services supervisor Rick Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Custodial Services is proud to recognize Erica Chavez Rios as the November 2024 Auxiliary Employee of the Month. Erica Chavez Rios has worked for Bryan ISD for 4 years. In January, Erica took on the challenging responsibility as the head custodian at Jones Elementary. She leads 3 custodians in maintaining the cleanliness and disinfecting of the Jones Elementary School campus. Erica Chavez Rios consistently exceeds expectations by keeping the Jones Elementary campus clean and healthy. Although she is primarily responsible for the cleaning and disinfecting of the Jones Elementary campus, she regularly provides custodial support at other campuses throughout the district as needed. She has a strong work ethic with a keen attention to detail when it comes to ensuring her job is done correctly. In preparation for the recent inspection by the TEA, Erica demonstrated her commitment to improving the campus safety and ensured that her employees were trained on how to stop the bleed, prepared her employees to effectively assist in a crisis situation, improving the campus's overall physical readiness. Erica Chavez Rios' outstanding work ethic and attention to detail have demonstrated that she and her employees maintain the Jones Elementary in an exemplary manner. Erica Chavez Rios, thank you for ensuring the high level of readiness of the Jones Elementary campus.
Thank you. Our next award is a recognition of Bryan ISD in the whole district, and specifically Angela Behrens, Assistant Director of Human Resources, for receiving the Quest for Quality Exceptional K-12 Partnership Award. The presenter is Texas Association of Teacher Educators, President Dr. Abby Strunk. Thank you.
Thank you. The Texas Association of Teacher Educators invites universities to nominate exceptional K-12 school partnerships that have been developed and implemented through university-based preparation programs. These practices and partnerships are critically important to the success of university-based teacher educator programs. Not only do they provide candidates with opportunities to engage in the theory and practice of teaching in context, but they also link universities, teachers, schools, and communities in a common goal of improving learning for all children. And the Texas Association of Teacher Educators is honored to present the award to Bryan ISD and Ms. Angela Behrens for the quality and exceptional partnership. Ms. Behrens was nominated specifically by Sam Houston State University for the partnership that she demonstrates every day.
So briefly, I'm Stacy Edmondson. I'm Dean of the College of Education at Sam Houston State. And as the fourth largest preparer of teachers in the state of Texas, we have a lot of partners, particularly around the greater Houston region. And we value all of those partnerships, and all of them are top-notch. And we ask a lot of our partners because the kids in today's schools deserve those kind of partnerships. So it is indeed exceptional for us to choose one of those partners to say this particular partner, in comparison with all of our others, goes above and beyond in helping us do that. And every time we ask, when we moved to year-long residency, when we moved to not just meeting what Texas requires, but really exceeding and thinking about what do students need in order to have the best teachers possible. And then we added a little cherry on top and said, how do you think we could possibly pay them to do that and allow our teacher candidates to avoid the vow of poverty that sometimes comes with becoming a teacher? Angela and her team and Bryan ISD always exceeded in helping us do that. And so it was our honor and an easy choice for us to make this nomination, and we are delighted to have that partnership recognized by the Texas Association of Teacher Education.
Thank you. Last of this, well, not really the last award, but certainly a recognition of another of our employees, and certainly not the least, of course, is recognition of Tammy Glenn, Jones Elementary Region 6 ESC Elementary Teacher of the Year, introduced by Executive Director of School Leadership, Linda Montoya.
Well, it's certainly my honor and my privilege to recognize and to introduce to you Tammy Glenn. Tammy Glenn is a kindergarten teacher at Jones Elementary, and this past year she was the Bryan ISD Elementary Teacher of the Year. She was selected by her faculty for that award, and then she went on to the Region 6 Elementary Teacher of the Year selection process, and she was selected by Region 6 as the Region 6 Elementary Teacher of the Year. Just a little bit about Tammy. Tammy's been at Jones for quite a few years. She is a phenomenal teacher. She not only teaches every day and reaches every child, she has high expectations for every child. The parents love her, the kids love her. They come out of kindergarten just with a real love for school. But also Tammy is involved in the New Teacher Institute. She mentors new teachers. She opens her classroom door for new teachers to come in and observe and to learn from her. So it's my honor and privilege to recognize Tammy and to introduce her to you this evening. So congratulations.
All right, we're not quite done yet on awards, recognitions. We have Bryan ISD Student Ambassador Nonprofit Partner of the Year Award, who will be introduced by Deputy Superintendent Dr. Bryan Merrill.
Well, I'm excited to be able to bring up Amber Robertson. She recognized the ambassadors. I would also like to call up, as she makes her way up with her staff, I've got a few people here behind me that I'd like to bring up and introduce for just a quick second. Students, I'm also going to have you introduce yourselves. So students, come on up. I want to introduce the leaders of the ambassadors. So I've got admin support, Jennifer Williams. If you don't know her, come on up, Jennifer. She's amazing. She keeps everything organized. She truly is an incredible I couldn't do it without her, to be completely honest with you. So I'm incredibly blessed and honored to have her. Laura Stafford's in the back. I don't know if she'll come up. She tends to hide. Where's Laura? There you go. She's amazing. She is one of our elementary GT, ISCs, instructional coaches. And she also, you'll see her at the football game. She's always got the elementary kids, or she's wrangling them. She's got one in her hands. She's doing everything she possibly can. She has an endless amount of energy. It's unbelievable what she's able to do. From Bryan High, I have Stephanie Manry, Cindy Dominguez, and Lester Banks. So if they would come on up, let's give them a round of applause. The odds are, you know, these guys, they are just tremendous. They're inspirations, to be completely honest with you. One of the things, and I'll say this when we finish, but if I could bring up Rudder High School, Fee Thompson, Dennis Rhodes, and Q Samuels. And everyone's favorite student, middle school, we absolutely could not do without them. Nancy Housley from Davila Middle School. And then Rebecca Boat-Cowley and Tara Davis, if we could give them a round of applause as well. So I'm going to ask Miss Amber Robertson to come up. She gave us the award, and then I'm going to ask Kyle if he wouldn't mind to give his speech. So come on, we'll spread out, guys.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having Brazos Valley Blessings here. It is super, and it's an honor to represent Brazos Valley Blessings, but also being a Bryan Viking myself, it makes it a little bit more nostalgic. So I just want to take a moment to thank the Bryan ambassadors. They are simply key to our future. Since the inception in an impromptu back-to-school event back in 2022, they filled the void time and time again, from back-to-school drives, stuffing Easter eggs after school, in Ms. Dominguez's class or Ms. Mannery's class, coming to back-to-school drives and serving other students in their community, as well as stuffing Christmas boxes for fellow students that didn't have Christmas or wouldn't have Christmas gifts, but they took their time to do that and take boxes out to families so they could have a Christmas holiday almost 3 years in a row. And they're already calling to ask me when they can go shopping this year. They are always there, not only to support Bryan ISD, but to support the Brazos Valley and Bryan College Station in a whole. But the one thing that stands out the most is the fact that these young leaders are standing up for what they believe in. They are standing up for what the Essential 8 says in servitude and giving back to our community, about serving others and creating their own path and growing themselves as they serve. I'm so thankful for their educators that give them the opportunity and the autonomy to be the leaders that we desire for them to be and to be Bryan natives. And thank you, BISD, for these amazing young people and for our opportunity to not work with them, but learn from them. So thank you. And Dr. Merrill didn't know this, but a little treat is that all of the kiddos here, as well as those that served our gala, they have a free kids meal to Texas Roadhouse.
This is just an example of one of the amazing partners that we get to work with. And the Brazos Valley Blessings truly are in our homes, and they're serving our community. And so it's a wonderful chance for our kids just to support their classmates. And so Kyle accepted the award on our behalf, and we've asked him to read his speech.
Good evening. On behalf of the Bryan ISD Student Ambassadors, thank you for having us here. As a Bryan ISD Student Ambassador, we're not just representing all the schools within our district, representing our town, representing the people that built this town up from the ground. Whenever our community needs help, we're the first ones to show up and the last to leave. Whether it's to build a house for a family in our community or simply showing up in the elementary schools to help with whatever is needed, we're always there. In my own experience as an ambassador, I've realized it doesn't just better your character, but it betters your community. Waking up at 7 a.m. to help pass out food with many other members of your community boosts motivation not only for the ones receiving, but also for the ones giving. Thanks to the Student Ambassador Program, I can live this dream into reality with all the amazing opportunities I'm granted. Thank you again for recognizing this amazing program we're all lucky to be a part of.
Well, Kyle, what I would love to share about Kyle is, I don't know how many events he attended. I don't know that there wasn't an event he was not at. How many hours did you rack up last year?
About 140.
Yeah, 140 hours. So it's incredible. You know, I've started making a list of all the events, and Jennifer does an amazing job of keeping track of them and figuring out which ones to say yes and which ones to say no to. And we want to help everyone at the same time. We want to make sure that we're honoring the kids' service, and we want to make sure it's worthwhile. But over 15,000 hours last year. It's incredible. This year we have 437 secondary ambassadors, over 150 intermediate, and then close to 100 elementary. And so just some of the events that we served at, just to kind of give us some perspective. We were just at the Field of Valor. And truly, the Rotary Club is dependent upon us at this point. And honestly, I'm excited that they are. We had tons of kids out there, and they're serving their community. And then even on Sunday, when you think it's over and you're just simply picking things up, we had a crew out there again. And I'm just incredibly proud. They're just moved by your willingness to serve, the attitudes in which you approach things, and just the heart in it. And so the Brazos Valley Educator Awards, Habitat for Humanity, Brazos Blessings, NAACP Gala, Junior Achievement, which we're doing all over the place. The Lighted Parade, big event. African American Gala, Food for Families. Night to Shine Gala, which was started here, that they created. Dancing Under the Stars, and then truly hundreds of other events, to the point that we've had requests from College Station and even ILT, to be completely honest with you. And so we were proud to get those requests. We might have said no to that one, just to be honest, but it was a wonderful event. So what I would love to do is have the students come up, and if they could, just say your name and the school that you're representing, okay? Can we do that? So come on up.
Breasia Robertson, BHS, O'Brien High.
Kyle, let's go, Bryan High School.
Will Zwerneman, Bryan High School.
Anthony Rodriguez, Bryan High School.
Amina Mishma, Bryan High School.
Camelo Brooks, Bryan High School.
Peyton Gibson, Bryan High School.
Lila Mitchell, SFA Middle School. Conley Porter, SFA Middle School. Ella Mitchell, Bryan High School.
Garrett Vernon, SFA Middle School.
Camden Stennis, SFA.
Landon Curtis, Bryan High School.
Braden Boat Cali, SFA Middle School.
Sean Dunn, Bryan High School.
Levi Kruger, Davila.
Ruth Cabrera, Davila. Juliet Molina, Davila. Angela Gallegos, Davila.
Caitlin St. Rudder.
Joseph Benavidez, Rudder High School.
Avery Tennell, Bryan High School.
Heidi Rodriguez, Rudder High School.
Jordan Cooper, Rudder High School.
Aldo Murillo, Rudder High School.
Ramona Dworkin, Bryan High School.
Paige Young, Bryan High School.
Austin Dozier, Davila Middle School.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the award. Thank you for recognizing the work that we're doing. Students, thank you for all of your countless hours that you've put in. Parents that are in the audience, thank you for bringing them. Truly, we know that it's a family that does it. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you for partnering with us. To my sponsors, you inspire me daily. I love y'all very, very much. I could not imagine doing this without y'all. I truly do mean that, so thank you. Thank y'all very, very much. All right, I don't know how we're going to do a picture.
Can we stand up behind him?
Okay, well, let's move this real quick.
Or do you want us just to
can just
stand
stand
up and
back
you get it
here
from out there?
Still gotta go.
Kyle, you killed it. Yeah, that was wonderful. Kyle, what's your last name? I'm gonna send you some pictures. Esco. Okay.
Well, I think I speak for the board when I say that this is maybe the finest organization that we have in Bryan ISD. It's incredible. We talk about football and we talk about all the sports, and they're great too. But you guys you girls are leading by example, and we really, really appreciate that.
As they make their way out, I could not agree more. Thank you, Mr. Stasny. I do appreciate the compliment. It's my gift to get to work with them every day. Well, the ambassador sponsored an event.
I'll go ahead and introduce that real quickly.
Okay, sorry.
We do have that as a separate item, but the Bryan ISD Student Ambassadors Dancing Under the Stars Participation Awards. That's what you're getting
thank
to,
you.
right?
Yes, sir. I apologize.
That's all right.
Yeah, okay. So I'm incredibly excited. Personally, it was kind of a brainchild of mine to do a dance. And I've shared that if you've ever been to Garner State Park, it's just kind of a magical experience. The families out there, they're getting to dance with their kids. I have pictures and memories of dancing with my daughters, my wife with my little boys, and it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things. And so I wanted to take all of Bryan to Garner Park, and that's not possible. So we thought we'd try to do our best and bring Garner Park to Bryan. And we pitched the idea and had a ton of support. All the sponsors that you see were there that night. I couldn't have thanked them enough for all the support they do, not only in coming out on Saturdays and after school and all of the night activities, but even when they're not necessarily maybe participating, they're just supporting by being present, which I really, really appreciate so very much. And so we kicked it off. We put it out to the elementaries and the intermediates. We started at the beginning of the year with Derek Rush's help of talking to the PE teachers and wanting to teach line dances. And we had success all over the place, and a lot of kids were really excited to learn line dances. In fact, I think Callie Donnelly said her boys kept doing Thriller when they would go home. So they definitely learned it for sure. And we had some awards. We put it out because we know that we've got some competitive principals and competitive sponsors, and so we thought we'd put a little motivation to it. We had roughly about 1,700 people show up. I have no way of, or registered, I have no way of knowing how many showed up that night. We honestly just let everybody in. If they wanted to come, we let them. We got a request up until the last minute to let them in, and we weren't going to turn them away. But there were people that made that night possible. And so I'd like, some of them are in the audience, some of them aren't. They've had other events, but Laura Stafford, she may have already taken off. She didn't even know. She's gone. Told you. And then Carmen Garcia and I know Charlotte Kiefer. They're actually at a PTO meeting tonight, so they're serving in another way, so they're not here. But Robert Rueda from maintenance made all of the buckets, made all of the things that held the lights, and Mike Cullen also was out there making sure that we had a successful night. So I was incredibly thankful for that. Had some other folks, Derek Rush and Josh Woodall that night. We needed chairs, and I just turned to them and said, look, can you make this happen? And they immediately just hopped in and took off and absolutely did. Lester Banks was there to make sure that we had stuff ahead of time without even asking. And that doesn't come as a surprise to anybody that knows Lester. I'd love to say I over-communicated. That's not what happened. Lester just somehow read my mind and was able to anticipate what we needed. And so from trash cans to cones to everything, Chris Gibson turning on lights, making sure that we had lights. There was just a handful of folks, that are willing to do things. So if you text them and they're like, hey, can you turn on the stadium lights? Can you turn on the baseball lights? We may need to move the porta potties so that we can see, and they just make it happen. And so I was very, very thankful for them just hopping in and just being around, wanting to be a part of it, and then willing to do whatever you ask. And so thank you, not only for me professionally, but for me personally, to making that night a tremendous success. We had 2 schools that really showed out. And not only did they show up and really had a great presence, but their kids, I think, had a great time as well. And so I'd like to bring up Kim Guess and Rebecca Ryberg, if they would come on up, please. They were our top campuses. And, if anybody knows these 2, they are highly competitive. I would say Kim Guess is... Trophy. I know we're working on a trophy, so that's what we have for now. Yeah. Trophy, sash. See, I told you, they won't hold you to anything. It's coming in. Well, we had to get 2 because after we started seeing the results, we started making them pick campuses. And Kim pointed out that her campus is much smaller. And she was like, look, it's not fair. That's not a fair comparison. Becky's is bigger. And so she wanted to make sure that, we separated them out.
They were scared of y'all is what happened.
I'm definitely scared of Kim. Yeah, no doubt. But her campus, both campuses did an amazing job. And so I'd love to read the names of the ambassador leaders and then some folks that made it possible. And I know they're here in the audience as well. And so if they would please come up. We have shirts for them. We have other things, but we wanted, if you haven't picked up a shirt, that's what we have, and other things. So if you would introduce the people coming up, that would be wonderful. I would appreciate that so very much.
Okay, my name is Kim Guess. I'm the principal over at Bowen Elementary, and I have some people with me tonight who were pretty integral in making sure our fabulous kids were prepared to boogie that night. And so we have our counselor, Miss Heather McDonald. I have, who's also an ambassador, junior ambassador leader. I have my best special education teacher, BEST. Her name is Mary Langston. And then our fantastic PE coach, Coach Close, and our kids absolutely knew every single dance out there. So we're super excited about that. Thank you, guys.
The Bowen kids were ready to dance. I mean, they were requesting songs. How long did you work on it, to be honest? 3 weeks. I mean, they had, if you were there, they were running over to the tower, yelling up to where's Cindy, her husband. Mondo Dominguez is our DJ, and he's done it forever, but he was making sure that they got to dance. So it was a wonderful night for sure. Okay, well, this is not maybe your size, but there's plenty of size in the back. You have it, okay. And we've got some other things coming. And I don't think Whitney Powers and Amy Grismala.
No, mine have little bitty babies,
Yeah.
and so they couldn't break away. But Whitney Powers and Amy Grismala
are both forces to be reckoned with. They're incredible ladies that run it. Again, they're amazing, amazing people, and did a phenomenal job. And so thank you all for just putting effort behind it. Not every time when you have a district initiative, it's always maybe put forth. So thank you so very much. I really do. And the few other names of principals I'd love to call out because they were dancing the night away. So incredibly excited for Debbie Earhart, Kim Guest, Sherry Hedstrom, Danielle Legg, Allison Boggin, Juanita Ontibaneros, Desiree Caperton, Ashley Lopez. Just thank you all for coming and supporting everybody and really making the night just incredible. So thank you.
Dr. Merrill, if I may, sure. I just want to say thank you so much for putting that on. That was an absolutely amazing show. I think everybody there was just blown away.
Well, thank you for showing up, all the board for showing up.
It's exactly what we want for our community. It brought everybody together. It was a family atmosphere, and you did an excellent job. I think we have a $5,000 gift card here.
Yeah,
for
there
you
we go.
somewhere.
Yeah, it's coming. I'll hold my breath.
It's in the mail.
Along with the trophies. Yeah, we'll make sure that
Sincerely,
that all gets
thank you
delivered.
very much, Dr. Merrill. You did an amazing. Everybody did an amazing job, but that was a great idea.
I was so pleased with the representation. We had such a diverse group of people, and as I walked around thanking them for coming, there were so many people I hadn't met that I got to meet. And so I was so excited for that, and we'll look to do it again next year. So thank you.
Thank you.
It was the ultimate daddy-daughter dance or mommy-son dance.
Yep.
And it was free, and they didn't have to dress up. I mean, to look out, and you saw the families getting out on the dance floor
Yes, ma'am.
together. It was just amazing. And you know what's going to happen? The Bryan ISD students are going to have the best wedding receptions ever.
I know, right? It's like every kid should learn the two-step and line dance. It's just part of it. Yeah.
Ruthie, what's going to happen is College Station may come up with a great idea as well, so just.
It was also our first ribbon event.
It
And
was
I
our
had-
first ribbon event.
I had a young preschool girl requesting her ribbon. And so it was cool to see a preschool student there.
That's cool.
And part of the ribbon.
Did you get her one?
Did I get one?
Did you get her one?
Oh, we figured it out.
We sent them all
explain
out to
what
the
the
principals. They
ribbons-
picked up all the lanyards this week, and then we put the number that they needed from each campus in there. So they went back and handed them out. So they're definitely, I'm going to do that. And the board has requested that we have them for this event. So when they do the pledges, we're able to give them a ribbon for coming to this. So we'll make that happen as well.
Thank you.
Well, I was in the great state of Vermont, and that's the only reason I missed it. I was visiting family, so. But I think the message is clear. Bryan ISD is a fun district.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next on our agenda is superintendent update.
Thank you, Mr. Sasney. That was hard to top. A lot has happened since the last month when I did my update. As you can see on the slide, it's a good problem to have that we can barely fit all the students to spotlight. But just for a couple of announcements on the first slide, we're reminiscing about the Bryan High School, Rudder High School annual trunk or treat events. Last time I was in here, that was all unfolding, and we had unprecedented record-setting turnouts for both events. It's turned into a real family community engagement, and we're super proud of their effort. We also have celebrated, Neal Elementary had their annual family color run a couple of weeks ago. And so many family engagement nights, mostly at all of our elementaries, too many to count. So again, thank you for all that. And we've also since celebrated Rudder High School's homecoming, and there's a picture of the king and queen. Also celebrating, we certainly appreciate every single one of our school board members who are so dedicated to our community and who all make decisions in the best interest of children. But most recently, a big congratulations to our newest board member, Mr. David Stennis. Let's give him a round of applause. He's had his first team of 8 training, but this is his first official regularly called board meeting. Welcome, Mr. Stennis. And then returning to the board is Ms. Ruthie Waller for another term. They will each be serving 3-year terms. Again, congratulations to both of you. We are also very proud of all campuses. I believe every single campus celebrated Veterans Day in one way or another. There were so many different programs, we couldn't even make all of them. This is just a photo. The events that I was able to attend all included veterans, and it was so wonderful to not only pay respect to the men and women who served our country so well, but for our students to learn from this and to understand the importance of recognizing that freedom is not free. Also, under the leadership of Executive Director Ms. Linda Montoya, Executive Director of School Leadership, I'm pleased to share that we had our second annual Next Step Family Engagement event hosted at Sadbury Elementary. This year was even bigger and better than last year when we couldn't believe it last year for the first time ever. We did this not knowing what to expect, and it was standing room only, so we had the same kind of turnout. But we leveled up, actually, by partnering with Level Up Texas. Level Up Texas and Prime Air provided 3 free books to every student that showed up that night in a Scholastic book fair. Additionally, we tapped the talent of Stephanie Burns from Texas A&M's Office of Youth Engagement. She met with all of our students and families that night to help them understand how important it is to make educational decisions as early as intermediate school. She talked about planning ahead for their future, contemplating career paths, post-secondary education, and making decisions as early as middle school and high school for course selection. Again, it was a great night, honestly, the epitome of family engagement. And speaking of engagement, our 4th graders, every single 4th grader in Bryan ISD were able to attend the Texas A&M girls basketball game. And you can see there that they were loud and proud, and the Aggies did win that day. And I'm convinced they won because of the home court advantage. And Bryan ISD, I'm sure, was the loudest and proudest. But not only were they there cheering for our Aggies, we had the good fortune of Henderson Elementary and Branch Elementary were selected to perform the national anthem for the entire crowd. So a great day for Bryan ISD indeed. And then I'm going to follow up just a little bit. Dr. Merrill knocked it out of the ballpark with the first ever Dancing Under the Stars in partnership with our student ambassadors. They actually worked with Dr. Merrill to lead the event, and they showed up and danced alongside all of our kids. But we're so proud of this because family and community engagement continues to be a top priority, and we estimate that over 1,000 people did show up that night. And it was so wonderful, as Ms. Waltler shared, to see the families showing up, moms, dads, grandparents, aunts, uncles, you name it, with their children, bringing their lawn chairs and dancing the night away. It was just a wholesome, fun, family-free event with perfect weather and a great time. And it was precious to see as young as pre-K and kindergarten doing all the line dances. So a big shout out and thank you to our campus principals, especially our campus PE teachers for making this possible. And just so you know, I was approached all night long from students and families asking, when is the next one? They want to do elementary, intermediate again in the spring. Middle school students want to have their own event, and high school students want to have one after every single home football game. So this is a good problem to have, that we are trying to figure out how to have a dance out in the parking lot more often than not. Again, just good family engagement. And finally, just a reminder to the board and to all of our community members to visit our Bryan ISD website. We keep the links active for all performing arts and fine arts and participation and competitions for athletics. So visit the Bryan ISD website, click on our links, see what's happening, especially as we roll into December. We have lots of holiday events planned. So again, it's a great day to be in Bryan ISD. Thank you, Mr. Sasney.
Thank you, Ms. Carabine. And next up are our standing committees, starting with teaching and learning. Joel Bryan, will you please give us an update on that?
Yes. Teaching and Learning Committee met on November 1st via Zoom. Board members present were Mrs. Benford, Mrs. Waller, myself, staff, Mrs. Carabine, and Dr. Ibarra. Topics covered: the student information system transition to Skyward. Information was shared about the district's transition to Skyward as the new student information system. This information was previously shared at the board workshop earlier in November. Development of the 25-26 academic calendar. The development of the academic calendar is underway. Information was shared at the November meeting and will also be shared this evening. We anticipate bringing a calendar for consideration to the December 16th board meeting. And the annual report, TEA anticipates releasing the final reports that are needed for the annual report. The administration anticipates this will be included as part of the December 16th board meeting. That's it.
Thank you. Next up is Finance Committee, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Stasny. The Finance Committee met on November 8th via Zoom as well. It was Dr. Harlan and myself. I think Mr. Stasny was in France or something interesting like that. You're in Vermont. And Ms. Carabine, Dr. Ibarra, Mr. Besaw, Ms. Brumfeld, and Ms. Martin. We discussed the 2024 annual audit update. Committee discussed the 2024 financial audit. A representative from the audit firm Weaver joined the Zoom call to review the audit with the committee and answer any questions. Full audit will be presented tonight at this meeting. We also talked about our Brazos Central Appraisal District Board of Directors, discussed new process for electing board directors for the Brazos Central Appraisal District. Under new legislation, the directors are elected, partly through the general election and partly by the taxing entities. Under the old method, the directors were appointed entirely by the taxing entities covered by the appraisal district. So we had a great talk on figuring out how to get our representation worked out. And lastly, we are working on our jetty agreement update. We just discussed the ongoing project with Factory One jetty agreement and status updates. So that is moving along, and we're just hanging on for dear life and waiting to get that done. So that's what we discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Ms. Walter, will you present on the City School Committee?
Yes. Ms. Felicia had most of the notes she took, and so I'll give you just a small little version. It is part of the City of Bryan and part of our school board that meet together. We, the district, provided updates of family and community engagement, and we talked about the up-and-coming Dancing Under the Stars and how good we anticipated it to be, and it was beyond our, our dreams of how well it would go. We talked about the different marketing efforts that the school district is working on. We discussed new hires. Ms. Carabine introduced some of our new administrators. And the city talked about their third Friday, which is a downtown event for Texas A&M, but open to anyone. And we discussed how we would be involved in what the city of Bryan is going to do for the lighted Christmas parade on December 7th.
Thank you. I think I'm going to add one thing to that, because I was there too. And they talked about how they were showing the permits for single-family residents in Bryan College Station, and how Bryan is now actually the leader on those permits by a long shot. And the comment that I appreciated the most was one of the city staff said that it used to be an issue with realtors and so on, or builders even being concerned about, should we build a house in Bryan, or are people going to want to build a house in Bryan because, are their schools as good, or are they, those kind of hesitations. And the comment was, by that individual was, that problem's kind of gone away. They don't feel that way anymore. I feel like Bryan schools are really doing well and providing a great education for all kids, and that was really music to our ears, to say the least. So I just want to throw that in. And it has been a great series of meetings with the city. We've had some rocky events in the past, but I think it's been going great. Hope we can continue those meetings. All right, moving along, we've got information items, academic calendar development for 2025-2026. Ms. Willett.
Good evening. I know y'all missed me at the beginning of the month. Okay, so this slide was one that you already saw. When we talk about building an academic calendar, we are looking at supporting the needs of our students, our staff, our parents, and our community, while ensuring that we are considering the needs and getting input from all of those different entities. But first and foremost, we know we're building this calendar for the academic success of our students. The parameters we often talk about, but I just wanted to clarify one thing. When it says we have 75,600 operational minutes, that doesn't start with teacher contracts. It starts with the first day of school and goes to the very last day of school. So those additional teacher days prior to students coming back do not factor into that 75,600. And we're working to ensure that our teachers end up with 187 days. Now, our timeline, we have a lot more check marks since last time we were here. Since the board meeting, the calendar committee has met 2 times, and they've gotten additional input from the teacher advisory committee and from DEIC. The calendar committee will meet again tomorrow evening, and our goal at that point is to kind of massage those calendars that we have left and hopefully narrow it down to 2. Again, our ultimate goal, like Mr. Bryan said, is to be able to bring back a recommendation for that December 16th meeting. Now, where are we in this process? Like I said, the calendar committee has met 2 times so far. During that first meeting, it was kind of going through, we have a lot of new members and trying to explain everything to them, and we just let them work. And in that time, they developed 9 different calendars because they were working in small groups, just like we do with our students. From that date till we met next time, Jennifer Lemon, Sarah Chupp, and myself sat down, and we put like calendars together. And so we clustered going into that second meeting, along with giving them the additional input that we received, we clustered like calendars together. And we've gotten it down to 5 at this point, with 3 of them being really, really similar. So what is the consensus that we're seeing so far? One is that we do need ample professional development before the start of school. With that transition to Skyward, teachers, we're going to have more professional development that they're going to need from day one. They've got to know how to do attendance. They've got to know how to put grades into the system, so we know we can't cut any of those professional development days off the front. It was consensus that we do need a fall break. Obviously, everybody loves the full week at Thanksgiving. This year in December was different for us. We go a little bit later than what we normally do, but there hasn't seemed to be any kind of issues with it. People are feeling that it falls okay. This year's the 20th. It could be as late as the 19th for next year. And multiple bits of the input said we really want teachers to be finished by the time we get to Memorial Day. But as you start massaging this and trying to make it all work, I think people are realizing that may not be able to happen. We're doing our best, but we will see what happens. Mr. Bryan, you were at the last meeting. Any thoughts?
I was impressed, well, as a newcomer to the committee, that was my first meeting. There was some deep experience in the room. I was really impressed at how quickly, at a glance, people were looking at the calendar and understanding exactly what needed to be shifted and moved. I thought that each group was tackling different objectives and looking at it through different lenses, and there was a lot of good back and forth about small details that were considered. Everybody was flexible and open-minded in the process, and it was educational for me, and I thought it was a very productive meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Bryan.
Again, calendar committee comes back tomorrow. In the morning, it says that we have DLT. We changed the schedule, but we will be meeting with all of the principals tomorrow for a few minutes to get their eyes on those calendars that we have to see if they have any additional input, because they were the very first ones in the process, so there was no kind of product when we worked with them. And then we go to calendar committee tomorrow night and keep our fingers crossed. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is board policy review update. Associate Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Dr. Barbara Ibarra. And our dear friend and board member, Felicia Benford, requested something from you, and I just want you to know that she was kidding. You do not have to talk as long as you possibly
She told me that I needed to really extend my session with you and take a great deal of time to dive deep into every topic so that we were here for an extended period of time. But we'll use your discretion. We'll see how you feel. Thank you, Mr. Stasny. Okay, so this evening I'm here just to give you an update on the district's progress with the board policy review. At the last board meeting, we discussed all the different ways that board policy can be updated. There are local updates that can happen from time to time because as the board has discretion to update a policy or administration believes there's a need, we bring it forward. There are policy alerts that come from TASB from time to time. We have numbered updates that come through our state organization and come to us in batches of policy update to be reflective of new changes to legislature. And then what we've started is a comprehensive policy review. This is done every 5 to 7 years. It has been a little while since we've done it. So Mrs. Carabine asked that we go ahead and begin that process this year. We actually started meeting last week, and so this evening we're here to talk a little bit more deeply about what that comprehensive policy review looks like. Then of course each year we do our annual maintenance. So this might be a little repetitive for our members of the board who've been on the board for a while. that you're probably familiar with quite a bit of this, but I do think it's helpful to understand what that process looks like, and then certainly anyone who is viewing the board meeting could get a little bit of information on accessing policies and navigating policies.
When did we do it last?
I'm sorry?
How long has it been since we've done it?
I want to say it was around 2012.
Oh, well, okay.
So 5 to 7 years. We're a little bit, we had COVID in there, so it was a little extended.
We actually were ramping up to do it right when COVID unfolded and the nation shut our schools down.
So a little delay.
That threw a little bit of a wrench in things.
So,
We got busy with some other things during that time frame.
Well, thank y'all.
No problem. So as you well know, board policy is organized into various sections, all the way from basic district administration and functions to community and governmental relations and everything between. It's very topical. Kevin Besaw has his own letter. He is letter C. He is business and support services, but he shares that with Mrs. Johnson because technology, the CQ series, is also in section C. So you'll see various cabinet members crossing over various policy areas because parts of policy end up impacting more than one area and more than one department, as you would expect. As we discussed last time, and you can know, there are two types of policy, legal policy and local policy. Legal policy is derived straight from statute or case law. It's not adopted by the Board of Trustees. It is given to us by the state legislature via the Texas School Board Association. So that Association of School Boards, TASB, they produce all of that legal policy, and that policy will trigger the need, or perhaps not, for a local policy to be developed. The local policies are in response to legal options, and it's basically declaring what the district's option will be in that situation. So let's do a quick little example here in just a second. We'll walk through one. When you go to our website, and you go to our Board of Trustees section of the website, you'll notice there on the right, there is a button for board policies. When you select it, you get to pull up the TASB interface for our board policy. And there's two areas to search, and sometimes this can get a little confusing for staff members and for community members, because your mind and your eye is immediately drawn to right above where policy begins, right there in the center where it says filter technically. You start searching for keywords there. That particular search parameter there is only for searching the titles of policies. So at the very top of the screen, if you wanted to search all the policies for keywords, that's where you would type in things that maybe aren't the title of the policy, but they're contained inside of a policy. So you'll get different responses and different results based on where you do your search. So more specific, general, you're not really sure what the policy might be called, you're going to go to the top of the screen and just use a keyword search. If you know pretty much what that area policy is, but you're not really sure all of the specifics or what letters it might be under, then certainly you could use the filter. Both of them work and will give you results. So when you do look at our policies, this is a great example of legal versus local. The legal policy for BE includes statutes and case law regarding the governance of board meetings. So it's the legal provisions under which the board meets. It's all of the parameters. It doesn't say when you meet, it gives you all of the parameters by which you can meet. So local policy is in place here to give the specific deals for Bryan ISD when we meet. For example, regular board meetings are typically the third Monday at 6 p.m. All other meetings are workshops or special meetings and are outside the parameters of a regular meeting. So the local policy here provides all of the details that we select based on the legal options given to us in the legal policy. So when we're looking at any policy, you need to look at both the legal and the local, because they both tell you different parts of the story and different bits of the information to see the whole picture. And again, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, so.
Well, what is the BE? So is the BE just the way it's laid out? Is it
Yes,
just
so they use a
alphabetical?
letter mechanism or a letter criteria and organizational system. So BE, for example, Mrs. Johnson is over technology, and that's the CQ series. CQ, CQA, and they have letters. They go by a different chunk of letter system.
On each different
That's
topic.
exactly right. I'm
Perfect.
glad you asked that question. The CKE series in the last policy update was completely redesigned, and so now there's CKE, CKEC, CKE, and it goes on and on and on and on. But they rearrange policies from time to time, but the letters give you what section it's under. So the section it's
Gotcha.
under, and then it progresses within that section with different combinations of those letters alphabetically.
Thank you.
Fascinating. It's riveting, I know. This is why Ms. Benford wanted me to spend a great deal of time with you this evening, so I appreciate that opportunity.
As attorneys, I think, Mr. Stasny, we're used to it. We probably feel right at home with
You
subsection
probably
A.
do, actually. That's exactly right. So again, just one more time, making sure that whenever we do review a board policy, that we look at both the legal and the local, because they give us different aspects of that topic or that criteria. For the comprehensive policy review, this is kind of the way it's shaping up. We had a committee of about 40 individuals from across the district, central office staff, department directors, and we also brought in principals from all of the different levels to be in the room, because what this policy portion is about is all about the local policy. We're not reviewing legal policies. We don't get to change those. Those are given to us. But we do have some discretion under the local policies. And the further you get away from your last review, the more likely it is that perhaps your practices have changed, maybe even evolved, and your policy is no longer in alignment with what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. So this brings those back into alignment. So prior to our policy consultant coming into the district, she sent us a survey. And so Mr. Besaw completed the survey, part of it. I completed part of it. The HR team completed part of it, just to see what are your practices. And it was a closed book test. You could not go look at your policy. It says, what do you actually do? And when these situations come up, what is your process? Like, for example, for the campus performance in the CPIC committees, the campus performance improvement committees, how are they elected to serve on those committees? And is what we're doing currently in alignment with what's in our options under local policy? We have to have a committee, but we have options with how that committee is comprised in terms of election versus appointment, those sorts of things. So we went through that process, and based on that, when she came to see us for 2 days, we went through every section of policy, all of them, and we went over certain key policies where maybe we need to take a look and make sure that those policies are in alignment with what we're doing, or did you know you had an option to do it differently? We're seeing many things that, for example, have historically or traditionally been the practice and been embedded in local policy, but perhaps really shouldn't be in local policy. They should be in administrative regulations, how we do business. That's not a policy. So is it something that is a policy, or is it something that is a procedure? If it's like a procedure in how we do business, that's not for a policy necessarily. The policy delineates the parameters under which we enact procedures. And so she helped us kind of walk through some of those things. We have some custom policies that are more extensive perhaps than they need to be for it to truly be a policy anymore. So the process for this moving forward is she's sending us back all of her recommended revisions based on our 2-day discussion, and then we will be taking those policies to other committees, the board committees, as well as some internal committees, to make sure we are all in alignment and agreement and understand why the change is recommended, if we agree with the recommended change, and then bringing it forward to the full Board of Trustees for possible consideration in the future. So over the next several months, as we go through committees with the board, you'll start to see batches of these policies coming before the board for discussion and then possible consideration on an actual board meeting. But that is our process for it. She emailed me today, and I think she has it with the last legal review before it comes back to us. One of the benefits of working with the Texas Association of School Boards is we have a policy consultant who works in tandem with lawyers at TASB to review that policy for any possible conflict with legal or exposure for the district, so that it's all vetted before the board receives it to take consideration or possible action on it. So that is our process for a policy review. We this week got another update from the state agency, TASB, for another numbered update. You have one on the consent agenda this evening that was discussed at the last board meeting, and you'll have another smaller one that'll come forward in the next 1 to 2 months, again, with some more legal updates and possible local revisions tied to it. So outside of the review, the numbered updates are still continuing from the state organization. Are there any questions? I didn't drag it out, I promise.
Good job, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I guess you're involved in the next one as well. Legislative, item 3, legislative priorities. That will be you, Dr. Ibarra, and Dr. Merrill, and Mr. Esau.
As they're coming forward, speaking of policy, since we're going into a session in January with the governor convening the next legislative session, there's typically the largest amount of policy changes after that. So this is all very timely. You'll be very familiar with the process as those big ones come in, should they take a lot of action in our favor, hopefully.
So at Team of 8 training last week, we had the opportunity to share some of the draft legislative priorities with you, and the board gave feedback, and we've made some additional edits with Dr. Ibarra and the team. And so we're back this evening for 2 different agenda items. One, to have some discussion in this moment, and then 2 later on the agenda, if the board would like, under governance, there is an action item for the board to formally consider the priorities. And again, if there's any changes between the conversation we have right now and that next item, Dr. Ibarra is going to go in and work on those edits prior to the action, potential action at the later part of the meeting. So at the front end of this, Mr. Esau, I think, has the floor for school finance.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. It seems like all of this deals with money. I guess that's a thing. But in the school finance, we really would like to ask them to reform school finance. I know that's a thing every year. One would be increase the basic allotment per student. That's, of course, you know, the amount we get for a student who's in attendance every day, $6,160 is the basic amount. That's unchanged since 2019. There's this little thing with inflation that's happened. If that was adjusted for inflation, it would be somewhere around $7,300, $7,350, something like that. So that is an issue when you're trying to run a school with 2019 dollars. The second one, modify the basic allotment formula to provide automatic inflation adjustments. That's something that's been talked about in many legislative sessions. They still continue to leave that out when they go through that process. Develop a funding formula based on student enrollment instead of student attendance. The argument for that, of course, is we have to staff up, have everything ready for the number of students who are enrolled. We get paid if they are in attendance, not for enrollment. So, we have teachers, we have supplies, we have the buses running for the number of students who are enrolled, not the number of students who attend necessarily. So, we can't combine a class and send teachers home if they're short. So that's one of the things that we would ask, and that's been brought forward in many legislative sessions. It just seems to not go anywhere. Another one is ensure public tax dollars are not diverted to private entities, since they're not obligated to accept all children and are not monitored sufficiently to ensure a quality education. I think this one ties back to the vouchers and that whole argument that's been going on for many years. And the last one there under reform finances, require all public funded schools, including charter and private schools, to adhere to the same standards and expectations as public schools, including but not limited to student academic performance and growth. And that's another one pointed, I think, at the vouchers to be that accountable for that funding that goes to other areas where they may not be held to the same standards as that.
Yeah, I think the next one goes hand in hand, and Kevin can help me do this one, but increase the safety and security allotment to fully fund all legislative mandates. One of their favorite things to do is to make mandates and then not fund it. Penny's difference in many cases, and they ask you just to do more with less. That's sadly a common characteristic of what they like to do. So that ties in directly with that top reform school finance. Allow discretion to spend funds based on specific district needs and challenges. And this one may seem vague, but I think it's really helpful to understand. For example, Bryan ISD really truly is at the forefront of school safety. So we've had multiple bond referendums that have put forth vestibules, fencing, all of the various things that the state comes out years later that says it needs to be done. Well, we've already paid for it. And so what we would love is to be able to collect the same amount of money, but be able to use it in a different way to make our buildings even more safe and secure. And so take it to the next step and the next step and the next step. And many districts are honestly substantially behind. They don't have the vestibules. They don't have many of the safety features that we do, the filming, the glazing, all of those things that they have. And another example is we put in 6-foot fencing a few years ago, and so are working to finish all those projects up. And so the state came back and said, well, wait, 6 foot won't work. It needs to be 8 foot. And then they said, well, never mind. So they can't quite figure out what they want to say, but what we'd love to be able to do is be adequately funded and then allow us to do what we know is best for our kids, because not every district is in the same place. It's why they're independent school districts. So it seems pretty straightforward, but unfortunately that's not the way it always works. The third category is address the teacher shortage. Provide adequate funding to make Texas a leader in compensation and benefits. And I appreciate Mr. Stasny really leaning into this and helping us craft the language of that and bringing forth sort of the idea that Texas is significantly behind our other states. In fact, Mr. Stasny pointed out that we're what out of 50? 49, is that correct?
Yeah, we're near the bottom.
Near the
I'm not sure
bottom.
exactly where.
47, I think.
47?
Yeah, generally, we're between 45 and 50.
There we go.
It varies from year.
So that's crazy. So I appreciate him pointing and helping us to craft that language that we're near the bottom and at the same time, so we need to adequately be able to support it. Afford greater flexibility of special education and bilingual teacher assignments by reducing the complexity of teacher certifications. It seems like they've only got more complex. And because they're federally regulated, in many cases, we're not able to hire them unless they just have a certification straight up. And so in these areas, we're just lacking folks. And it's not just Bryan ISD. This is the entire state of Texas. And they need to address this, and we're hoping that they will take a hard look at it and make some changes. And again, we're all for having certified teachers, and at the same time, if they're just not available, there's none available. So they really need to work with the universities and figure out a way to make this less complex and less cumbersome. Modify TRS to afford retirees the opportunity to return to work with local districts without negative impacts to their retirement benefits and compensations. This seems like a no-brainer, and to most people, they probably can't even understand what we're talking about. But in layman's term, you can retire, and then you can't come back to work for us. So even though you would want to, you're willing to do it, you feel like you still could serve, and in many cases they can. They just want to retire, and then they'll stop putting forth towards TRS. They want to come straight back either into a similar job or maybe a part-time job, half-time job, whatever. We would love to hire them, and we're letting years of experience walk out the doors just because they don't want them to do it. They don't want them to, I guess, double dip or whatever. It seems crazy to me that they would limit our available staffing options, but that's what they do. And there's penalties, all kind of regulations concerning it. And so it's so, honestly, kind of, it's just common sense. But to most people, they don't understand that that is a limitation. They have written this, and they won't allow us to hire some of our best people and some of the ones with the most experience that we would love to have directly back in the classroom, influencing the younger generation. Obviously, teacher shortage, and we're letting those that walk out with the most experience, they could directly help us.
And then the finale is, of course, restructure the state assessment and the accountability system. I have given a few presentations on this to this board over the past couple of years, but I think we're all understanding why that first bullet is there. Oppose the oversimplified A through F campus and district ratings, since they mislead the public about the quality and efforts of educators and basically our school systems. Asking for an accountability system that looks beyond those high-stakes assessments, and that we limit state assessments to the federal requirements and not go beyond and above that, since we already have local determination on a number of those things. And then allow districts at local discretion to determine acceleration, remediation, and enrichment based on student needs. Again, that one goes to workload and complexity. We are obviously doing those things for our students because we actually want to help our students move forward, wherever they are, as far as they possibly can in the time that we have with them. Are there any questions, feedback, or discussion that you'd like to have about any of these priorities from the board?
Dr. Ybarra, under the greater flexibility of special education and bilingual
Yes,
teachers,
ma'am.
and I know this, you can't put too much in there, but along with that, the state is allowing the national funding to be cut. They are mandating teachers to do double the paperwork, double the meetings. It's almost like there's a group that is so against our precious special ed children getting what they need that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
So the
not-
extensive workload on those
Oh,
areas of certification in particular, outside of certification tests, but just the volume of workload that's required for compliance sake.
and just the funding, I mean, and Jennifer Warren and I, we had to put off this meeting several times, but from what I understand, at the fault of the state of Texas, the federal funding is
SHARS.
is being cut.
And they
And a lot of
retroactively
that
applied
will
that
be
to the
staffing.
districts. That's a great point.
Maybe on that same sentence, you could put while also minimizing the amount of, and then go into your compliance piece. Because what Ms. Waller's saying is true. The paperwork is now so cumbersome. The amount of time they have to spend preparing for meetings and progress monitoring, et cetera. It's excessive.
While
which
also
makes me-
minimizing the workload associated with compliance.
That's perfect.
Okay,
Minimizing the workload associated with compliance. Perfect.
thank you.
And I wonder, we know what TRS means, but maybe spell that out on a modified TRS to
Yes,
for
ma'am.
retirees.
I'd like to ask y'all about, I don't know if it matters, it's just getting nitpicky, but under the Reform School Finance, the fourth bullet, ensure public tax dollars are not diverted to private entities since they're not obligated to accept all children and are not monitored sufficiently to ensure a quality education. To me, it just sounds like we're being kind of petty. I mean, is there any way we could say they're not monitored as rigorously as public schools or to the extent of public schools or to the caliber? I just think we don't want to sound like we have sour grapes. I think if we could word that where, I mean, they're not, we definitely are at a disadvantage because we are graded very, very meticulously, and if vouchers are passed, they obviously will not have the same rigor or any kind of, we don't have any kind of monitoring on them. Is there any way to word that where it doesn't sound so snarky, just kind of more factual than, I mean, that sounds more of, that's an opinion versus stating it very factually. If there's any way we could clean that up, I think that would be, we don't want, I don't want to have any emotion in there if we can avoid it. And it may be fine the way it is. If y'all think it's fine the way it is, I would not die on that hill, but that just to me is the only thing in there that really sounds like we're.
I mean, to a large degree, it's like if you're going to, it needs to all be equal, right?
Exactly.
So I don't know how to say that without, I agree. I mean, the reality is if you're going to take state money, then play by the same rules, right?
Exactly.
You're not going to start on the 30 and we got to start on the 10 and we're going to run something, right? So if we're all going to accept state money, I'll accept every kid. We'll be happy to. We're not afraid of competition because the last thing we want to communicate is that somehow we're afraid of
Right.
competition. We're not. We just want it to be a fair race.
And that's what I'm saying, if we said something about they're not monitored as public schools are, or something instead of, they give a crappy education and we don't. That's what it feels like.
Are you suggesting that it's, the monitoring part is not saying how much they would be monitored? You want it to be equal to?
However, I don't, the fact that it says to ensure a quality education, it sounds like we're judging their education, which I would assume ours is much superior, obviously. But if we could say it in a way where we want it monitored equally, like Bryan said.
At the same level as public
Yes,
schools?
something like that, not because they have a bad education.
Since they are not monitored at the same level as Texas public schools?
Yes, something like that. However y'all can, I think that sounds more factual, that is factual versus making it sound like an opinion.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I kind of added that on in our team of 8, and I was just trying to throw it in there, but that I think is a little clearer, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
By the way, this will be voted on later, so whatever changes you make, we got some head nodding and so on.
We've got Dr. Hugo Ibarra typing
So
back
when the
there.
time comes.
Right, Hugo?
I have it handwritten.
You could phone a friend in a moment.
Clear as mud, wasn't it?
So when we vote,
Third
we're going to
person.
be getting, we'll be, any changes to this will be given to us clearly, and then we'll vote on the revised version.
Yes, sir.
Other than that, it's perfect. Thank you. In my opinion.
All right, any other questions? Comments? Okay, thank you.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we're now to the citizens' comments portion of our meeting. Citizens make comments on topics relevant to district business. Topics should be limited to 3 minutes. Comments concerning specific students or personnel will be heard in closed session. I have received one request to address the board from Denise Basie. If you would like to come forward and have 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind.
To the Bryan ISD School Board, I'm writing to bring attention to a serious incident that occurred during my son's football game on October the 2nd, 2024. One of the most terrifying moments of my life. I received a phone call informing me that my son had suffered a seizure on the football field and had to be rushed to the nearby hospital. He was unconscious for over an hour. When we arrived at the hospital, the doctors repeatedly asked if his head had been hit. All I could say was that nobody knew for sure. The neurologist needed to see some footage to better understand how he had fallen and potentially hit his head. But to my surprise, there were no recordings of the game. I truly thought I was going to lose my son that day. Given that football is a contact sport with inherent risk, I have to ask, why aren't middle school football games being recorded? If professional leagues like the NFL take the health and safety of their players seriously by reviewing footage and taking swift action, I'm asking Bryan ISD to do the same. During the incident, people kept asking me, what can we do for you? Now I have an answer. I'm asking the school board to make it mandatory that all football games be recorded. In moments of crisis, it is difficult to recall specific details, especially when a parent or a coach is in shock. However, having video footage will allow medical professionals to see exactly how an injury occurred and provide the best possible care. Thankfully, the school and staff, coaches respond quickly, and I'm grateful for their immediate action. But moving forward, I strongly believe that recording all football games could help ensure the safety of students, potentially preventing long-term injuries or helping to manage incidents better when they occur. My son is recovering and will not return to sports until January. As a concerned parent, I hope the school board consider this request seriously, so that other families do not have to face the same uncertainty and fears that we did. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Not being an agenda item, we're not able to respond to you, but I think we'll have one of the administration, a member of the administration team, contact you to follow up on this.
Yes, sir.
Great, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We're not supposed to talk to you, but is your son doing better? He's doing all right? Good, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Consent agenda is a list of items that are either been already pretty thoroughly discussed or of a very routine nature that we will not spend time on individually unless any board member wishes to pull it from the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull an item at this point?
No, I was going to make a motion.
You may make the motion.
Mr. Stasny, I move to approve all items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Joel? All right, motion's been made by Mr. Gonzalez, seconded by Mr. Bryan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on to the regular agenda.
So it passed. So it passed.
Oh, okay, yes, it passed, yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
did.
didn't know if that needed to be on the record.
Well, I mean, that's worth saying. Thank you for helping me out there. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, anytime.
It did pass unanimously, I think, unless somebody didn't say anything there. Moving on to business services, under the regular agenda, we have consideration and approval of the annual financial report for Bryan Independent School District for the year June 30th, 2024, ending, I guess, June 20th, 2024. The presenter will be Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Kevin Besaw, and I believe you have, we also have someone with our audit firm to help us out.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Tonight is a celebration of sorts for the finance department as we end the year with a successful audit. Texas Education Agency requires all independent school districts to have a financial audit performed by an independent auditor and issue an audited financial report annually. We've just completed that process for the year ended June 30, 2024. A copy of that final report is attached to the agenda, and I think there's a hard copy for each of you. We had some unique challenges this year due to changing our fiscal year end from August 31 to June 30, and also changing our financial software system in January. So I want to recognize our finance team really worked hard and did a great job of doing that. I have in the back, I have Ms. Stephanie Brumfield, the Director of Financial Services, and Melissa Martin, the Assistant Director of Finance. Both of them worked extremely hard, and we overcame a few hurdles on that, but everything is working fine. Also would like to mention Data Services, Director of Data Services, Jennifer Lemons, and Senior Systems Analyst, Alan Campbell, were instrumental in working through some of those things as well. We have tonight Mr. Matt Rogers, Director with the firm of Weaver and Tidwell, was in charge of our audit and is going to review some highlights of the report and answer any questions as we get done.
Thank you, Kevin. I want to extend my appreciation again to the Finance Department, Kevin, Stephanie, Melissa, and everyone else. As he mentioned, there were some challenges this year, and they went above and beyond to make sure they had everything ready for us timely. So I just want to go over an overview of the audit process, present the audit results and some of our required communications, present some financial highlights from the annual financial report and some upcoming changes, and then leave room for any questions you may have. So you do have a copy of the print and bound version of the report. It's approximately 120 pages. I won't go over all that information, of course, but tucked away in the back, you also have what we call our governance communications, which are also included in the presentation. So just briefly, our audit process, it's a cycle every year. So we have our initial planning whenever we get the signed engagement letter going into our interim testing. We do our interim field work typically during the summer. We did it June this year. We come in, we test some controls, we look at internal control processes, we kind of gauge any changes in the district or any significant transactions to see kind of how that might direct our audit at year end. And so year end this year was a little bit earlier because of the change in fiscal year. So we came in around the middle of September, worked our way through end of October, and then the drafted financials came to review to management. And then we have our presentation here tonight of the final annual financial report, and then the cycle continues. So we audit under specific audit standards. So we have generally accepted auditing standards, and then we have generally accepted government auditing standards, which apply to state and local governments. We also apply what's called a single audit. So you expend more than $750,000 in federal awards. So you're required to have a single audit under uniform guidance. And then in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards, or what we call GAGS, we also do some compliance testing for key compliance requirements that affect the financial statements. So we do have a risk-based approach. These are just some common risks that we identify and use to gauge our audit procedures. We do test internal controls over financial reporting. In compliance, we don't issue an opinion on the effectiveness of those controls, but we do test them in order to kind of, again, just introduce some efficiency into our audit procedures. And then we also tested compliance with major program requirements. So these next two slides are really kind of snapshots of what we call the compliance section of the report. It's toward the back of the annual financial report. And so you'll see here that we issued an unmodified report on the financial statements. An unmodified report is the highest level of assurance you can receive in a financial statement audit. For internal controls over financial reporting, we did not identify any material weaknesses, and we did not identify any significant deficiencies. We also did not identify any material noncompliance. So the results for the federal awards or the single audit, we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies over compliance. We issued an unmodified opinion on compliance for the major programs. And then we did not have any other findings that are required to be reported under uniform guidance. The district qualified as a low-risk auditee. There's a number of criteria that play into that, what qualifies as a low-risk auditee, but generally the one that matters most is that you haven't received any material weaknesses within the past 2 audit cycles. So the major program this year, we got a break from having to test ESSER every year for the past couple of years, but we did test child nutrition cluster this year, and as mentioned previously, we did not have any findings there. And so this, just some of the required communications regarding significant risks. We identified significant risks, potential risks that help us gauge our audit procedures. It's important to note that we, again, did not identify any material misstatements or significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. New accounting standards, nothing much to adopt this year. GASB 99, there was a portion of that that applied this year, but it did not affect the district's financial statements. Accounting estimates, so you have multiple accounting estimates that impact some of the numbers in your financial report. Those are listed here. The one that really has the most significant impact is foundation state aid. So that accrual, we look at the key factors and assumptions. The key drivers there are property tax collections and attendance data. And we had no issues in whenever looking at those key factors and assumptions. Just some other items. Uncorrected and corrected misstatements. We are required to communicate to you if there were any uncorrected misstatements or if there were any material misstatements that were corrected. We had no such corrections this year. Just other items, we do have certain ethical standards we have to abide by. We make sure that we are in compliance with all ethical standards and performance of the audit. We are not aware of any consultations or requests for a second opinion from other accountants. We have certain also written representations from management that we get upon conclusion of the audit before we issue our final audit opinion letter. So some financial highlights, just a comparison of revenues by source. You can see it's broken down here by local and intermediate sources. That's primarily property taxes, state program revenues, so state aid, and then federal program revenues, which are your state. Well, actually, many of your state federal program revenues, such as child nutrition, Title I, SPED, and others. So you can see here that it's largely the general fund has a little over 80 million. It's Exhibit C2 in your printed and bound report, but you have 81.7 million in local revenues in the general fund, 77.7 million in state program revenues, and just shy of $1 million in federal program revenues in the general fund. The debt service fund, that's primarily used for servicing debt, bonded debt. So you had 32 million of revenue in local and intermediate sources, and then some state revenue, 2.7 million. And in capital projects fund, that is the fund that tracks the proceeds of your bonded debt and the use of those proceeds. Had about 3.4 million in investment earnings. And then total non-major funds, those are all of the remaining funds of the district that are primarily your state and federal programs. And so you had 3.7 million in local revenues, 2.1 million in state revenues, and then 37.9 million in federal program revenues. So just a comparison of revenues year over year. You can see it has remained relatively consistent with the exception of the local and intermediate sources versus the state. There were some changes this year that impacted the distribution between local and state. So you had the tax rate compression that was effective for the 10 months ended 2024. You had the $100,000 homestead exemption that fully applied this year. And then you also had some kind of the gap filled by the state. So resulting in a little bit of a change in the distribution there. Comparison of expenditures by function. So the general fund had a total of $152.7 million expenditures, primarily instructional expenditures, of course. For the debt service fund, you had $30.8 million. That's all related to your principal and interest payments. The capital projects fund had $31.6 million in expenditures. That's primarily devoted to facilities acquisition and construction. And then total non-major funds, $43.1 million in total expenditures. And that's, it really kind of changes year over year depending on the usage of your state and federal programs. So comparison year over year of your expenditures, you can see it's relatively consistent. Your largest functional expenditure, of course, is instruction. And then you've got it broken down also by some of your other larger sources, so principal and interest, facilities acquisition and construction. The facilities acquisition and construction, that really varies from year to year. It just depends on how much of your bond proceeds you're using in any given year. So some budgetary highlights for the general fund. Your annual financial report has the general fund, the child nutrition fund, and the debt service fund presented, which are all required by TEA. But this is just going to, this slide just covers the general fund. You'll see that you have a total final budget on the revenue side, $170,787,000. Expenditures, $157,921,000. The actual final result, $160,467,000, $152.7 million. So you have some budget variances there. It's kind of an outlier year because of the fiscal year change, and there were some changes in some of the accounting accruals. There was also some usage of remaining ESSER funding that kind of affected the budget to actual this year. General fund comparison of fund balance. You can see from the previous fiscal year to the 10 months ended June 30th, 2024, the distribution between unassigned, assigned, committed, restricted, and non-spendable. So you can see that unassigned fund balance increased a pretty good bit. I think that's about $38 million in the previous year, and then this year it is, let me get to my exhibit here. So you had about $46.9 million in unassigned fund balance, total fund balance in the general fund of $53.3 million, which was an increase from the previous year. That equates to roughly 35% of total current year expenditures, which is roughly 4 months, and which kind of falls within the range that most districts target, which is 2 to 6 months.
Was this also, again, because of the 10-month, switching to a 10-month year, or does that have anything to do with it? I guess not.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah. So some upcoming changes. There's a lot of GASB statements that'll become effective in the next couple of years. They've been pretty busy, but the one that will be most effective, or that will impact the district's financials most significantly, will be compensated absences next year. But it shouldn't have an effect on your your governmental fund financial statements, it'll have a more direct effect on your government-wide long-term liabilities. With that, I'd love to leave it open for any questions you may have for me.
Any questions?
Thank you.
You wowed us all.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, I guess, take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Besaw and everybody that's responsible for making this a rather boring event instead of
that's true.
a heart-wrenching event. So thank you for the great job that y'all do. It's getting to be a habit. So this is well received. Thank you very much. Well, I'll entertain a motion.
We're so enthralled with the presentation.
Anybody find the motion?
Is there a motion on it?
I can give it to you.
Maybe Mr. Stasny, I move approval of the annual audit and financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Gonzalez, seconded by Ms. Waller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I did it right this time. The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you again to Mr. Besaw and Ms. Brownfield and Ms. Martin for your hard work. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Like I've told you all, it was a lot more fun when I imagined that Mr. Besaw was having so much fun with all of our finances. But I'll tell him every chance I get, hats off for doing such an amazing job taking care of our finances. We are absolutely blessed to have him. Thank you.
Our next item for discussion and or action, discuss and consider innovative course offering for team sports officiating. And our presenter is our Executive Director of Athletics, Derek Rush, and Director of Counseling Services, Donna Willett.
Good evening again. We're excited about the opportunities that these two courses would bring for our students. They are innovative courses. First one is team sport officiating, and the second one is navigating life for students who are deaf of hard of hearing. Because these courses are innovative courses, our process for approval is a little bit different. For those of you that are really old like me and have been around a really long time, used to every single course came to the board as we added new courses. That changed, thankfully, a number of years ago because it happens real regularly. Most regularly, it has to do with CTE. Every 2 years, the state says, oh, just kidding. This is the third course in this sequence, and so we have to change it. But because these are innovative courses specifically, they require board approval. Through board policy EHBJ legal, it says with the approval of the board, a district may offer any innovative course as long as they don't make modifications to it. So your question is, what are innovative courses? Many districts often find a specific need, like these courses are really honed in on a specific topic. These are things that are not part of this magic list of courses that the state gives us that we can offer, but they're their own skills and competencies that are not part of the essential knowledge and skills. If a district says, hey, we really need to have this, they fill out an application, they turn it into the state. The state says, yes, we approve the course, or no, we don't. If they approve the course, then other districts have the option also to offer these courses. And like I said, we're super excited about both of them. The first one is team sport officiating, and Mr. Rush is going to talk about it.
Good evening. As you may know, that the state of Texas have a shortage of officials. That's been the case the last several years. The Texas High School Coaches Association, the UIL, the AD Association, and TASO has encouraged districts throughout the state to implement the team sport officiating course, which is approved by TA. The TASO, which is the Texas Association of Sports Officials, they did a research several years ago, and the lifespan, workspan of an official is 2 years. And that's very sad from that standpoint. And so, again, the UIL took an initiative as far as pushing this to all the districts throughout the state to implement this class to not only help officiating, because we all know that if we don't have officials, we can't play games from that standpoint of it. And so we want to do our due diligence as far as pushing this and making sure we're doing everything possible to make sure we have quality and suitable officials throughout the state and also here in Bryan, Texas as well. And so also this will give our students a great opportunity to also officiate and also be a part of a sport that they like or love from that standpoint of it, and also making money by doing that. This course is a web-based instructional course. Is offered 3 sports per semester. So those kids that are interested in this course could get licensed to coach, to officiate 3 sports, maybe football, volleyball, basketball, whatever that may be. And through this course, they are also licensed to officiate youth league and also junior high sporting events. We do have a local TASO College Station chapter where this course would give them the foundation and the knowledge to join that TASO officiating chapter to officiate high school games. And so, again, it would be a great opportunity for our students to engage in this course to also make money and also officiate a sport that they love.
Mr. Rush, if I may ask a question. Two of my 3 kids did this, and it helped them a lot. They made really good money. It pays really well for high schoolers, and each of them were in it about 2 years, and then they moved on. But this is really exciting. Would this take the place of an elective, or is this separate from, what elective would they get credit for?
It would be just a
General
elective towards that they have to reach.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'm sure you have to be, 18 to get your certification?
Yes, so we're looking at offering it to juniors and seniors right now.
That was going to be my next question, is what years, okay.
Yeah, preferably seniors, but we're going to look at it and offer it to juniors as well.
And then my next question is, if you could draw a picture of whoever the instructor is, male or female, what are the requirements for us to hire the right instructors?
We're looking at an experienced PE/coach who has that experience to go in. Again, it's going to be a web-based course, and we definitely need that experienced coach or teacher that has the intellect and also the desire to integrate this officiating course to those students.
So we would hire them part-time?
No, currently, right now, we have PE teachers and coaches that are at Rudder and also at Bryan High. Yes, sir. Who would we be reaching out to those guys to get them to uptake this course?
So we can be creative in who the instructors are?
Correct.
And we also have a lot of local officials that could come in as
Right.
guest speakers. We will absolutely tap the local talent to, impart their knowledge.
Exactly. I've reached out to Doug Williams, who's over the official at College Station, and he's more than happy to send some of his officials to us to oversee it as well. And also, when these guys, student athletes or students, finish their license, to move right into the TASO College Station chapter as well.
Good.
Is this limited to certain sports only? So
All sports.
Okay, so baseball's included?
Baseball's included.
And I hope, and I know we would encourage women.
For sure.
But I think that would be good, especially we should encourage our girls to take this.
Yes.
We think it will be very popular, and we're
Yeah.
doing our part. There's about to be a huge void in our state for officiating, so this is a must-need course, in my opinion.
Correct.
Mr. Stasny, may I make a motion?
You may.
I move approval of the innovative courses for team sport officiating as presented.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Gonzalez and seconded by Mr. Bryan. Any further questions?
No,
All
sir.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Sounds like it's unanimous, and it passed.
Thank you. With that passing, the ultimate goal would be for it to be offered at both Bryan High and Rudder. The next, I'm sorry, you have to go.
Oh, good. Please, yes, this next one is, I wasn't going to stop you.
Everybody's ready to go.
Consider the innovative course offering for navigating life for students who are deaf or hard of hearing. Don't say anything. Go ahead.
This course particularly would be offered at Bryan High School, who is our high school for the regional day school for deaf. Yes, Dr. Warren is going to talk about this course, and it's called Navigating Life for Students Who Are Deaf or Hard of Hearing.
Thank you.
Donna. Yes, it's a mouthful. RDSPD, Regional Day School Program for the Deaf. The state created a curriculum that we can present to our students who are deaf and hard of hearing that allows them to be equipped to enter either the workforce or the community and navigate life with their hearing loss. And so this course is designed for our older high school students who are getting ready to leave high school and join our community as citizens. And what's great about this program is that it does not just talk about entering in the workforce, it also talks about self-advocacy and learning how to advocate for themselves at a workforce, or even how to apply and have an interpreter come in and serve with them while on the job so that they can gain employment, but then also be at an advantage with their language so that they can serve not just those that are deaf and hard of hearing themselves, but also hearing citizens as well. With this course, it is an elective, and it would only be offered at Bryan High because that is the only high school that has our deaf and hard of hearing students.
I'm not sure that it's common knowledge about the fact that Bryan High School is a regional day school for the deaf. Could you tell us, and those
Sure.
that don't know, what that means?
Sure, there are about 20 regional day school programs for the deaf in the state of Texas. And for the Brazos Valley, we serve over 30 school districts across the Brazos Valley. Some of our students travel up to 2 hours to come to school here so that they can be with their non-hearing peers and they can learn sign language alongside them.
Every day?
Every day.
Wow.
Yes. The idea behind the regional day school program is that students would be educated alongside those that communicate the same way, because otherwise they're very isolated if they're the only deaf and hard of hearing student in their home school district. So the state allows us to put regional school districts together to collect all the resources for the students and to provide a high quality education alongside their peers.
Will you share which schools?
Oh, goodness. There are 30 plus school districts.
No, I'm sorry, just the Bryan host sites.
Oh, okay, thank you. I
thought you meant all 30.
Putting her really on the spot.
I think I could do it. But
She set you up.
I'm going to be really impressed if you rattle all 30.
Let me impress you. No, I'm kidding. Bowen Elementary School, you have Rayburn Intermediate School, SFA Middle School, and Bryan High School. And those are our host sites for our regional day school program for the deaf.
Well, that's just another reminder of the value of public schools. And we take all comers, and this is a unique thing.
Absolutely.
And I think it's been this way for a long time. I don't know when we were first designated as a regional school, but our district, but it's been a long time. So I'm proud of the fact that we, and I know the rest of us are too, of the fact that we offer that for students who have special needs. All right, ready for a motion?
Mr. Stennis, you want to do the motion?
I move approval of the innovative course offerings for the Navigating Life for Students Who Are Deaf or Hard of Hearing as presented.
Second.
Second by
That was Mr. Stennis.
Oh, great. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
First one.
Motion made by Ms. Walter, seconded by Mr. Stennis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Local governments, discuss and consider legislative priorities for the 89th legislative session. Obviously, we've already gotten the information on that. Presenters, again, Dr. Barrow, Dr. Merrill.
Here he comes, hot off the press with a new
Here we go, Kevin B.
revised.
Thank you. Dr. Hugo Ibarra has made the suggested edits for your review.
And
we'll
becoming
give-
a Dr. Ibarra really makes it hard on us now.
You know, Dr. Mel made a
Congratulations,
pretty good
but-
joke while I was up here at the podium, and I heard it in the background. She's like, does she always refer to herself in the third person?
what it
And I'm like, And I'm like, why is it? Oh,
We-
I get
Honestly,
it.
I thought that's what you were doing.
The royal we.
Yeah, I get it now. Dr. Ibarra is the best, I'm just saying. But he truly is.
Yeah, that's. Dr. Ibarra, other Dr. Ibarra, that's perfect, thank you. We'll call him Dr. Ibarra, that's what we'll do.
You know, I can give it a try.
2 out of my 3 kids can do it, 1 of them cannot.
My mother-in-law coached me not to, though. She said, stop. And I said, okay, I will stop. I tried real hard.
Lauren cannot, my oldest cannot.
Any further questions or discussion about legislative priority?
No, sir.
And I will again entertain a motion.
Mr. Stennis, it's all you.
Before we, hold on just a second, sorry. At our COG meeting today, the meeting with the Council of Government, Joel attended along with me, and they were talking about, and this was a big group of the government, our internal governments in the community, and they were talking about getting their legislative priorities set and that they were all working on it. And I kind of took that time to, and I know you mentioned that College Station ISD has theirs also and had theirs. And I took the time to say, we've got them, they're printed, we're ready to go, we're ready to hit the road. And I mentioned that College Station, and Dr. Harkrider was on the Zoom with us. And this is a lot of work, and I want to say what I just said to give you credit, because we, like, if we had to go to Austin tomorrow, if we got called, we could represent our district with all the work and preparation that you gave to us. We worked together as a board. We asked you to tweak. You've already, I mean, just as soon as 15 minutes ago, you made the tweaks, and here we are. So it's very important, but I'm very proud to say that we're ahead of most of the governmental councils in our city right now. I'm nothing against them, but I'm very proud that we're this far ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that a motion?
I think it's.
I move to approve the legislative priorities as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Stennis, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, the board will now convene in closed session to discuss the following items as allowed by Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.074, 551.0821, and 551.087. The items are on the agenda as far as what we'll be discussing. No voting will take place in closed session. Any action of the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will occur after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. The time is now 8:10. Convened in open session at 8:48. No action was taken in closed session. We'll now consider approval of the recommendation for the principal of Bryan Collegiate High School.
I move approval of Dr. Desiree Caperton as principal of Bryan Collegiate High School.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Bryan, seconded by Mr. Waller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations to Dr. Caperton.
Yay.
You want me to do the gavel?
She will begin her reign as only the third principal
Is it third? I was 40.
of Bryan Collegiate High School since it opened in 2007. So it's a good gig.
Well, and if there's no objection, there are no further business, the meeting is adjourned.